everyone, welcome back to Learner's World. Today's video is going to be over what causes shedding. I will have a quiz linked in the description box below if you want to check that out. This is going to be for those who are either taking hair styling classes, cosmetology classes, or if you're taking classes to be a dermatologist, that sort of thing. So without further ado, let's get started. Starting off with the scientific answer. So hair shedding is a biological mechanism by the hair follicle growth cycle, which consists of the anagen or growth phase, catagen or transition phase, the telogen or resting phase, and the exogen or shedding phases. Normally, about 85 to 90% of your hair is growing, while 10 to 15% is resting. Shedding occurs when a resting hair is pushed out by a new anagen hair. So the anagen phase. The anagen phase is the active growing stage of the hair follicle. During this period, cells in the root of the hair divide rapidly, pushing the hair shaft up and out of the skin. It is the longest phase of the hair growth cycle, determining how long your hair can grow. Key factors of the anagen phase. So the duration is typically going to last between 2 to 7 years for the scalp hair, depending primarily on genetics. The proportion. So at any given time, roughly 85 to 90% of your hair on your head is in the anagen phase, and the growth rate. So hair in this phase grows at an average rate of about 1 centimeter or 0.5 inches every 28 days. Factors affecting the anagen phase, so genetics. Your DNA strictly dictates the maximum possible length of this phase. Shorter anagen phases make it difficult for some people to grow their hair very long. Aging, as you get older, the anagen phase naturally shortens, resulting in finer, thinner, and slower growing hair. Health and stress, severe illness, nutritional deficiencies, for example, iron or zinc, or extreme physical and emotional stress can disrupt the cycle. This can prematurely push hair out of the anagen phase and into the shedding phases. Catagen phase. So the catagen phase is a brief 2 to 3 week transitional period marking the end of active hair growth. During this phase, the hair follicle shrinks, cell division stops, and the hair shaft detaches from its blood supply to prepare for the resting and shedding phases. The hair growth cycle consists of 4 distinct phases, with catagen acting as the crucial middle step between the growth and rest. What happens during catagen? So growth stops, active production of new hair cells halts, follicle shrinks. The hair follicle shrinks to about 1/3 of its usual size. Detachment, the base of the hair detaches from the dermal papilla or the blood supply nutrient source. Club hair formation, the root of the hair transitions into a hard club-shaped structure, effectively locking it in place for the remainder of the cycle. The telogen phase. The telogen phase is the natural resting phase of the hair growth cycle. During this period, its hair follicle is completely dormant and no new growth occurs, typically lasting 3 to 4 months. It accounts for 10 to 15% of all scalp hairs at any given time. The dormant period, where the hair remains anchored in the follicle without growing. While resting, the old hair is held in place until a new hair begins to develop at the base of the follicle. Once the new hair pushes through, it naturally sheds the old one. It is completely normal to shed between 50 and 100 hairs a day during this process. Sometimes a major physical or emotional shock, such as extreme stress, childbirth, surgery, high fever, or severe nutrient deficiencies, can force an abnormally large amount of hair follicles prematurely into the telogen phase. About 3 months after the triggering event, this widespread resting phase culminates in sudden excessive shedding, a condition called telogen effluvium. Fortunately, because the follicles are not dead, this condition is typically temporary. A normal hair cycle generally resumes once the trigger is removed. The exogen phase. So the exogen phase is the natural shedding phase of the hair growth cycle, often considered the final part of the telogen or resting phase. During this period, an old, fully detached hair shaft is released from the hair follicle, making way for a newly developed hair. how the exogen phase works. So what happens, the follicle releases the old hair, which usually falls out naturally or is aided by everyday grooming, such as brushing or washing. Duration, the phase generally lasts about 2 to 5 months, overlapping with the time new hairs are beginning their growth. The anagen phase, deep inside the follicle. Normal shedding, it is entirely normal to shed between 50 to 100 hairs per day during this phase, differentiating normal shedding versus hair loss, while the exogen phase is a normal, healthy part of hair renewal. Losing excessive amounts of hair can signal an underlying issue. Normal shedding, you may find hair on your pillow or in the shower drain, but your hairline remains intact and your overall hair density does not visibly change. Hair loss, if you're losing more than 100 to 150 strands a day over a prolonged period and noticing receding hairlines or bald patches, it may indicate a hair loss condition such as alopecia rather than a standard exogen cycle. How much is normal shedding? It is normal to shed between 50 and 150 strands of hair a day. This is because the average scalp has around 100,000 hairs. Losing this amount is a healthy part of the hair's natural growth and resting cycle. Normal shedding can vary significantly depending on your specific circumstances. Wash frequency, if you only wash your hair a few times a week, you will see a much larger clump on wash days. This is simply because the hair that naturally shed over the last few days was trapped by your other hairs or hairstyles and is now finally washing out. Hair texture, people with curly, coily, or very long hair tend to hold onto shed strands longer, meaning the hair you collect and your brush or drain may look much more dramatic. The life events, so temporarily increases in shedding, can occur due to major stressors, recent illnesses, or hormonal shifts like pregnancy. When to seek professional advice. You should consult a primary care doctor or dermatologist if you notice the following, which may indicate true hair loss rather than routine shedding. So there's going to be visible, sudden bald spots or patchy thinning. Your ponytail feels noticeably thinner than it used to. Or you pull out handfuls or thick clumps of hair at a time. Deficiencies that may cause or can cause brittle hair, so low levels of iron or ferritin. Protein, zinc, or vitamin B12 can make hair brittle and stall new growth. That's all I have for today's video. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, please hit the like button and forward it to someone else that might find it helpful. If there's a topic you want to see in a future video, please leave it in the comment section below. Hope y'all have a great day. Bye!